Sit on it. Happy Days was not just a nostalgic sitcom about the 1950s. It was a cultural earthquake that rewired American television and reshaped youth identity across the world. Behind the jukebox, smiles and leather jackets lurked chaos egos, studio battles, and creative reinventions that almost sank the show. Here are 20 weird facts about Happy Days that even lifelong fans never knew. Fact number 20. The Fonz was never supposed to be the star. When Happy Days premiered in 1974, Henry Winkler's character Arthur Fonzarelli was just a supporting greaser. The show was meant to center on clean-cut Richie Cunningham, but something wild happened. Audiences roared for the Fonz. Test screenings showed kids mimicking his thumbs-up pose within days. The studio panicked. Gary Marshall resisted, at first afraid to let a side character dominate. But by the second season, fan letters exploded, demanding more Fonz. Winkler's charisma changed television hierarchy forever. The writers rebuilt entire storylines around him, and even toned down his original tough guy attitude to make him family-friendly. The Fonz didn't steal the show, he reinvented it. Fact number 19. Ron Howard almost quit before season 2. Ron Howard came from film royalty, yet Happy Days made him miserable. As Henry Winkler's Fonz exploded in popularity, Howard felt sidelined. In private, he admitted he feared becoming the straight man forever. ABC executives leaned into Fonzie's cool appeal for marketing. Howard's face vanished from posters and toys. He told Gary Marshall that he'd walk if Richie lost his identity. Marshall promised new storylines, focusing on family and friendship, but Howard's frustration became legendary. He later said the show taught him how quickly fame can turn cruel. Ironically, that bitterness fueled his transition into directing. Without Happy Days pushing him to the edge, we might never have gotten Apollo 13 or A Beautiful Mind. Sometimes resentment becomes rocket fuel. Fact number 18. The term jumping the shark was born from a real stunt. Season 5's infamous water ski scene changed pop culture forever. When Fonzie literally jumped over a shark on live television, viewers gasped in disbelief. What most fans never knew was that Henry Winkler performed the stunt himself. The crew begged him not to. Winkler insisted on doing it wearing real skis and that signature leather jacket. Production insurance nearly doubled. He landed the jump perfectly, but the audience reaction was divided. Some saw it as proof of Fonzie's fearless charm. Others saw desperation. Years later, critics coined the term jumping the shark to describe when a show crosses into absurdity. Winkler later joked that he didn't ruin television, he just made it more interesting. Fact number 17. The studio wanted to replace the entire cast after season 1. ABC executives feared Happy Days was dead after its first season. Ratings lagged behind expectations. They blamed the period setting and wanted a fresh cast and contemporary tone. Gary Marshall fought back. He begged for one more chance to recut the show around the Fonz and Richie friendship dynamic. He even filmed a new pilot, secretly titled Fonzie's Happy Days, to prove his point. When test audiences cheered Winkler's scenes, the studio reversed its decision overnight. The cast stayed. The show exploded in popularity. It wasn't saved by luck. It was saved by one man's refusal to let executives flatten his creation. Fact number 16. The canned laughter hid real tension on set. Behind those cheerful laughs, the Happy Days set was anything but happy. Crew members recall tense silences between takes. Winkler's rising fame clashed with Ron Howard's quiet professionalism. Marion Ross and Tom Bosley often acted as peacekeepers, like parents managing rebellious kids. One writer called it a family sitcom with real family dysfunction. Live audience tapings made everything worse. They'd cheer for Fonzie, mid-scene forcing reshoots. Marshall once threatened to cancel tapings entirely. What viewers heard as polished laughter was often edited chaos from 3 different recordings. The smiles were real, but the harmony was not. Fact number 15. Fonzie's leather jacket was a battle with the network. In the early episodes of Happy Days, the Fonz wore a windbreaker. ABC executives refused to allow a leather jacket, fearing it made him look like a criminal. Gary Marshall fought back, arguing that a real greaser would never ride a motorcycle without leather. He struck a strange compromise. The network allowed the jacket only when Fonzie was near his bike to justify it as safety gear. Once the audience loved it, the rule vanished. By season 2, the jacket became sacred. It was no longer just clothing. It became armor, a symbol of rebellion and coolness. The Smithsonian Institution eventually enshrined it as a piece of American history, proving that what executives fear often becomes legend. Fact number 14. A fire destroyed original sets between seasons. During a break in 1976, a fire swept through Stage 19 on the Paramount lot, where Happy Days was filmed. The blaze devoured sets, props, and costumes. Cast members arrived to find their make-believe Milwaukee turn to ash. Production nearly halted for months. Gary Marshall used the disaster as creative rebirth, rebuilding a brighter diner and expanding the set to fit larger audiences. Fans never noticed the transition. It became a metaphor for the show itself, rising from the flames to reinvent its image. Sometimes the happiest days start with destruction. Fact number 13. Henry Winkler could not ride a motorcycle. Despite the Fonz being a biker icon, Winkler secretly feared motorcycles. The actor admitted he had poor coordination and no balance. When the camera showed him revving the engine or cruising down the street, the bike was often pulled by a hidden crew member off screen. During one take, the motorcycle fell on him, bruising his leg and scaring him for weeks. Yet on television, he looked fearless. That contrast between real fear and performed coolness made Fonzie more human than fans realized. The man who defined toughness was quietly terrified of his own machine. Fact number 12. The show was originally a failed pilot for Love, American Style. Before Happy Days existed, it appeared as a short segment on the anthology show Love, American Style in 1972. The piece called Love and the Television Set featured Richie and his family obsessed with buying their first TV. ABC buried it. 2 years later, Gary Marshall reworked the idea into a standalone sitcom. He changed the name, shifted focus to 1950s nostalgia, and recast most roles. When reruns of Love, American Style aired after Happy Days became a hit, viewers were shocked to discover the origin story. What began as a forgotten sketch became one of television's most beloved worlds. Fact number 11. The Fonz never said his catchphrase in early scripts. That legendary "I" did not exist in the first scripts. Writers had given Fonzie full lines of dialogue, but Winkler felt the character should communicate more through attitude. During one rehearsal, he forgot his line and simply grunted in approval. The audience roared. Gary Marshall told him to keep it. Soon every script had blank lines, marked with "Fonzie reacts." What started as an accident became a ritual. Winkler later said the sound symbolized confidence without words. The most famous line in sitcom history was never written. It was born from instinct and silence. Go ahead and like and subscribe, because the next 10 facts dive even deeper into the wild truth behind the smiles. Fact number 10. The studio audience became an uncontrollable monster. By the time Happy Days reached its 4th season, live tapings turned into circus events. Fans lined up outside the Paramount gates, screaming for the Fonz like he was a rock star. When Henry Winkler walked on stage, the cheers were so loud that microphones shattered from the noise. Scenes had to be stopped and reshot because the applause drowned the dialogue. Gary Marshall tried to calm things by limiting live tapings, but ABC refused since the audience hype drove ratings. Cast members said it felt less like comedy and more like gladiatorial theater. Winkler once waited 3 full minutes before he could deliver his first line. The audience had turned into an uncontrollable force, shaping the rhythm of every scene. What started as laughter soon became chaos, and that chaos became the heartbeat of the show's fame. Fact number 9. Happy Days accidentally created 2 other hit shows. Happy Days was so powerful that it spawned entire television universes without even trying. When guest characters Laverne and Shirley appeared in Season 3, they were meant as one-off comedic flings for Richie and Fonzie. Audiences exploded with love for them, and within months, Laverne and Shirley became its own primetime hit. Later, a throwaway spin-off idea about an alien visitor named Mork turned into Mork and Mindy, which launched Robin Williams into superstardom. Both shows started as background experiments inside the Happy Days universe. The writers joked that Happy Days was like a television factory accidentally producing legends. Few people realized that a single set in Hollywood created 3 of the biggest comedy franchises of the late 70s, all born from improvisation timing and pure lightning caught on camera. Fact number 8. The cast struggled with fame in real life. Behind their smiles, the Happy Days cast found fame overwhelming. Henry Winkler could not go to restaurants without fans demanding he say, "I." Ron Howard was followed by paparazzi every time he stepped outside. Erin Moran, who played Joni, struggled most. She entered the show as a teenager and grew up under the world's microscope. Tabloids invented stories about her relationships, while producers controlled her image tightly. Many cast members later admitted they developed anxiety during those years. Winkler said he learned to hide from fame rather than chase it. Howard escaped into directing to avoid being typecast. What the audience saw as joy on screen often hid exhaustion off-screen. The real Happy Days existed only when the camera stopped rolling. Fame gave them everything, yet quietly took away their peace. Fact number 7. The censors feared the word sex on set. Network censors in the 1970s ruled Happy Days with iron fists. The word sex was banned outright. Even mild flirting caused panic in the control booth. When scripts featured scenes of Fonzie dating multiple women, executives demanded rewrites replacing romantic language with hanging out or going steady. Gary Marshall mocked the restrictions by naming the diner Arnold's instead of something more risque, because the network even rejected slang terms they thought sounded suggestive. Winkler joked that he spent years acting like the coolest man alive, while never actually saying anything adult. The censorship made writers more creative, finding subtext through looks, gestures, and timing. Ironically, the tension made Fonzie more iconic. He was dangerous without breaking a single rule. The show's innocence was not weakness. It was rebellion wrapped in politeness. Fact number 6. Robin Williams' guest appearance changed everything. When Robin Williams appeared as Mork the Alien in a single season, 5-episode, producers thought it would be a forgettable gimmick. Instead, Williams transformed the energy of the entire set. He improvised lines, ignored cues, and turned scenes upside down while everyone struggled not to laugh. The live audience erupted in hysteria. Executives realized instantly that they had discovered something extraordinary. Within months, Williams had his own spin-off series, Mork and Mindy. Henry Winkler later said, Williams' arrival felt like witnessing a tornado made of genius. The energy forced everyone else to raise their game. The Fonz had met his match not in toughness, but in imagination. What began as a surreal dream sequence became one of the most important moments in television history, proving that pure madness sometimes births magic. Fact number 5. The cast had to hide real-life tragedies during filming. While Happy Days delivered sunshine to millions of homes, its cast quietly carried heavy burdens. Marion Ross lost close family members during the early seasons, yet never missed a taping. Tom Bosley battled private grief after losing his wife while still playing the upbeat father figure Howard Cunningham. Erin Moran faced constant bullying from tabloids that mocked her appearance. Henry Winkler struggled with dyslexia at a time when it was rarely discussed, forcing him to memorize entire scripts by sound. The cast learned to channel pain into performance masking real tears with laughter. Ron Howard later said that the strongest people on that set were the ones smiling through heartbreak. The illusion of happiness was not a lie, but a shield. Behind those glowing lights stood real humans fighting their own unseen storms. Fact number 4. Fonzie's apartment was built from spare studio parts. The iconic attic apartment above the Cunningham garage was never planned. Early episodes featured Fonzie as a mysterious drifter without a fixed home. Fans demanded to see where he lived, so the crew scrambled to build a set within days. Budget restrictions forced them to use leftover pieces from other Paramount shows. The walls came from The Odd Couple. The furniture was borrowed from the Brady Bunch. Even the staircase was an old prop repainted overnight. Yet the result felt authentic and became one of the most recognizable TV spaces of the decade. Viewers believed they were peering into the Fonz's private world, not realizing it was a Frankenstein creation built from scraps. That set represented the entire spirit of Happy Days. Resourceful, rebellious, and unexpectedly timeless. Fact number 3. The cast did not realize how big the show was. During the first few seasons, the Happy Days cast did not grasp how massive the phenomenon had become. Television lacked real-time feedback, and there was no social media. It was only when the cast appeared at a live parade in Los Angeles that they truly saw their fame. Tens of thousands of people filled the streets, chanting Fonzie's name. Ron Howard described it as being caught inside an earthquake of love and noise. The experience overwhelmed them so deeply that several cast members cried afterward. They were not actors anymore. They were cultural icons carried by waves of nostalgia and adoration. The realization terrified and thrilled them in equal measure. From that day on, they knew Happy Days had become bigger than any of them could ever control. Fact number 2. The cast reunion nearly fell apart in the 1990s. When producers planned a Happy Days reunion special in the 1990s, old tensions resurfaced. Several actors demanded higher pay, citing years of unfair residuals. Henry Winkler personally stepped in to calm negotiations, using his influence to convince everyone to participate. The emotional reunion almost never happened. Behind closed doors, some cast members still carried wounds from the past, feeling overshadowed or forgotten. Yet once cameras rolled, the chemistry returned instantly. Audiences wept, seeing their childhood heroes together again. The special proved that time could heal creative scars. The show that once mirrored family life had become a real family once more. Imperfect but enduring. The reunion was not just nostalgia, it was reconciliation, captured on film. Fact number 1. The final episode hid a secret. goodbye. The last episode of Happy Days aired in 1984, closing one of television's longest-running eras. During the wedding scene between Joni and Chachi, the cast secretly placed small tokens inside the set. A ring from Marion Ross, a lucky coin from Winkler, and a folded note from Ron Howard tucked under the couch. Each item represented gratitude and closure. Crew members said they filmed that final scene through tears. No one spoke when the director yelled, "Cut." After the lights went down, the actors stayed in silence for several minutes, knowing it was truly the end. The smiles you saw on screen were real. They were saying goodbye, not just to a show, but to the happiest days of their lives. Bonus fact: Fonzie's leather jacket is still missing. The Smithsonian may hold one of Fonzie's jackets, but another original vanished decades ago. During the final season, a crew member borrowed the spare jacket for a promotional shoot, and it was never returned. For years, collectors claimed to own it, but none matched the authentic stitching Winkler remembered. Rumors persist that it lies forgotten in a Paramount storage vault or in a private fans collection somewhere in California. Winkler has said he would love to see it again, but prefers to think of it as free, out there in the world, still symbolizing rebellion and hope. Just like Fonzie himself, it refuses to be contained. Happy Days was not merely a sitcom. It was America's mirror, showing how nostalgia, rebellion, and innocence could coexist under the same laugh track. From studio fires to personal heartbreak, its legacy remains untouchable. Stay tuned for more cinematic secrets, and remember to hit that like button because cool never fades.